Welcome back to Writing and Reading the Declaration of Independence. In this talk, we'll be looking at George Mason and the Virginia Declaration of Rights. We have seen what was being said in England by people like John Locke and the freeholders of Middlesex, what they were saying about the basis of the social contract, the purpose of government, and the conditions under which a government could legitimately be dissolved. What was going on in the colonies? Well, in Virginia, there was something very important going on. In June of '76, shortly before Jefferson began work on the Declaration of Independence, George Mason, with the participation of others, including James Madison, wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights. This image is borrowed from the Library of Congress. It shows Madison's edits of Mason's draft. Now, Mason was a lawyer and very carefully spoken. The Virginia Declaration of Rights begins, "A declaration of rights made by the representatives of the good people of Virginia, assembled in full and free convention, which rights do pertain to them and their posterity as the basis and foundation of government." There was the social contract. Mason goes on to say that all men are created equally free and independent and have certain inherent natural rights of which they cannot, by any compact, deprive or divest their posterity, among which are the enjoyment of life and liberty, with the means of acquiring and possessing property and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety. So Mason had talked about inalienable rights, and then in a lawyerly way had laid out what some of those rights might be. Mason goes on to say that government is, or ought to be, instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people. Of all the various modes and forms of government, that is best which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and is most effectually secured against the danger of maladministration. We will see Tom Paine talking about that also, but there's a disagreement between Mason and Paine. Mason goes on to say, "Whenever any government shall be found inadequate or contrary to these purposes, a majority of the community have an indubitable, unalienable, and indefeasible right to reform, alter, or abolish it in such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public weal." So we actually see a reflection of that in the Declaration of Independence. Now, was Jefferson familiar with the Virginia Declaration? Well, surely he was. Whether he actually had a copy of it or just spoke to other Virginians, he certainly knew what was there. Was he influenced by it in his creation of the Declaration? Well, look at it this way. The Virginian activists knew one another and had many occasions to meet and talk. These ideas were in the air in Williamsburg just as surely as they were in the air in Philadelphia and Boston. It wasn't a matter of who said what when, but when these words and ideas would become the substance of independence.